thing that you remember.
Have you ever worked with anyone who's been abducted?
You're not yourself since you fell, man. I'm worried.
You need to rest.
I'm a grown man. I can handle this.
How are you doing, Pete?
I'm good. How are you?
I am not so bad, sir. Not so bad. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so
You're most welcome. I spoke to Ross at the end of last week about it, and I sort of said to him how much it resonated with me on a personal level, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you for that, sir. I understand you've been in the business now for sort of over 20 years, but Descendant is your first full feature as a director, and I know that you directed the short film back in 2018, Occupant. And I wondered if after making that short, the stepping stone would then naturally be to go on and make a full feature, or was the uncertainty you experienced during the pandemic a catalyst to drive you into the director's chair?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I watched your interview with Ross. It was great.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. So it's nice to see your face again. Yeah, I had a feature version of Occupant that fell apart right before the pandemic hit, and we really thought it was going to go, and it didn't, and I was pretty devastated. And then the world shut down, and then I started writing Descendant. That's basically, I was done with that, and so I wanted to do a fresh idea, and so this is how it came to be.
So, as well as directing the movie, you are also the man behind the screenplay as well, and you used a lot of your own personal struggles with sort of mental health, as well as questioning yourself as a husband and father and provider, I understand. And it obviously made this an extremely personal journey for you. Did the making of the movie provide you with any sort of catharsis? And if so, was it the experience as a whole, or did you find it early during the writing process?
I think I found it throughout. It started with the writing process, and figuring out how I was going to, like I said, I was out of work, and so obviously I was like that bled into the story with Sean not feeling like he could provide. That was coming from a personal place. He's definitely not me. Let me just clear that up. I do the dishes and the laundry. I do things around the house. But yeah, it was because the interesting thing was that I was so devastated because the film before that fell apart, and I felt like I wasn't ever going to get a movie made, and I felt like I had failed and I wasn't contributing. And it was really a moment where my wife was like, "You're being an idiot. Like you're helping raise these kids, and there's value to that." And I think a lot of men don't realize that, as open-minded as we like to think we are, we're still kind of stuck in that same old mindset where you have to be the one leading the charge financially, and the reality of the day we live, this day and age, is that doesn't always happen, right? And so when that doesn't happen, and it gave me a bigger appreciation for the role of caring for my children and how important that was, and I put value on it. And the irony is, it led to me getting my first film made and boosting my career, is when I reset my priorities and I go, no, who cares about their movies? And yeah, that'd be great, but like my kids are what is the most important thing, and I need to focus on that. So it's ironic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, although obviously you say you were out of work, you were kind of being a full-time dad.
Yeah.
And then you were fitting in the writing of the
Yeah.
screenplay kind of around that. So you probably were maybe keeping some odd hours. Was it kind of potentially a little more taxing because of
Yeah.
that trying to squeeze in?
It was because I was determined. I still wasn't going to give up on this career. I, 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 there was no way I was just going to pack it all in, and I wasn't going to lose time. And so I wrote on weekends and I wrote nights, early mornings, and yeah, it was incredibly stressful. But when I always got to my computer, that's where I felt like I could breathe and I could release, and that was hugely therapeutic. Just the act of writing that and putting that out on paper was healing. And so yeah, I needed it. Like I craved it.
Uh, um, Obviously, I mentioned I spoke to Ross recently, and he loved being able to rehearse for the week
Yeah.
leading up to the start of the shoot, which is a rare thing, especially on an indie like this as well. Um, Now, in her words, Sarah Bolger had said that the two of them were simpatico. Now, seeing the chemistry develop between them during that week must have been a really big boost for your confidence, I should imagine, as you were probably. You've said maybe you were obviously already stressed, but I should imagine you were pretty nervous as well as you approached that sort of opening day of the shoot.
Well, oh, very. That rehearsal week was ended up being invaluable, but at the beginning we quickly realized that Ross's character was a little one notish, and he was like sad from the jump, and we realized that then he has nowhere to go, like there's nowhere for him to go. And so we ended up rewriting a lot of the first act, those scenes between the two characters, and injecting levity and love and lightheartedness, and to keep, we really just kind of brightened up the entire first act so that when the shit does hit the fan, hopefully the audience has more empathy for him as he descends into madness. So yeah, it was great.
Uh, Um, Speaking of obviously Ross and his character Sean, you love aliens. I understand from what I've read, and you drew inspiration or part some inspiration for Descendant from Robert Lieberman's Fire in the Sky, which for me is still the best kind of movie out there about alien abduction. I think I've got a particular fondness because I was a pretty young man when that came out as well. Um, I asked Ross about this, and he said I should ask you because I feel that, from my perspective, there was some ambiguity around whether or not Sean is actually abducted by aliens or not. Would you care to comment on that point, sir, or are you happy to leave it in the grey area for the audience to come away with their own answers?
I would say this: all the answers are there. It is definitive what happened to him, but you have to especially pay close attention in the pickup truck at the end to that dialogue, and also pay close attention to his wardrobe and also an article of clothing on the bed. And if you put all that together, you'll go, "Oh, that's what happened."
I
Does that?
believe I believe a second viewing is in order because this is
Yeah,
the great thing about films is that discovery, of watching them again. Because I'd said last week that I came into the movie completely cold. I knew
yeah,
nothing about it at all, which is wonderful. And just I kind of went in and just I was switched off, and I just went with it. So I think subsequent viewings, I'm going to start picking up on that. So maybe that ambiguity will be a little bit less. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
yeah. No, I mean, I think
Um,
yeah, it's fun.
um, so Descendant, I think, will most definitely play well with genre audiences, but at its core, it's a deeply human story that will appeal to a wider audience, dealing with as it does the anxiety of becoming a new parent, which people like me and you have obviously experienced, and some early childhood trauma that Sean's character suffers as well. Um, how easy was it to find the right balance between the drama of that and the more fantastical elements of the alien abduction?
I mean, that was always, you know, something we discussed, and for better or for worse, because I know that some of the knocks against the film are that it doesn't have enough, genre moments. And I'm fine with that. I wanted it to be something that hopefully genre fans embrace, but I also wanted it to be something that folks who don't watch, horror, sci-fi can enjoy. And also, when you do these kinds of movies, like speaking of other rustic films, Resolution, I think works so well because it's the relationship that Vinny and I have, and we spent months rehearsing that, and so I knew because of budget limitations, I'm going to lean into my strengths, which is directing actors and crafting scenes, and so I leaned heavier on the relationships because at the end of the day, all these plots, there's only what 7, 8 plots in the world or something, and they're all just different variations of the same thing. You're not going to really reinvent the wheel, and so you're best served by creating compelling characters that the audience cares about, and so that's what I chose to focus on.
Yeah, I personally think you got the balance really, really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Because I think sometimes you can get lost, I think, and get pulled out of it if it takes things a little bit too far.
Yeah.
And I personally thought that balance was really well worked. And I'm pleased you mentioned Resolution as well, because two of the producers behind the movie are Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Now I know you'd worked with him obviously on Resolution and The Endless. Were they the first people that you pitched the movie to when it came to kind of financing?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew for my first film, they produced my short, Occupant, that premiered at Fantastic Fest in 2018. And I knew for my first film, I wanted it to be a rustic film because I trust those guys more than anyone. And I knew they would set me up for success and they would surround me with an amazing crew and a ton of talent. And they did. They did all of that. And so, if I could have them produce every single one of my movies, I would, because you want to work with people that you trust and that are looking out for you, and yeah, I mean, it was such a positive experience.
Yeah, I think within the indie community, a lot of the time it can almost be like family. I remember speaking to Larry Fessenden some time ago, and he was very much, we are a family. I can just pick up the phone and we're all in, and we can just hit the ground running. So that's nice that you've had that relationship, and hopefully that's something that will continue for you all. I wanted to ask you about your acting role in the film, because interestingly, you play Sean's father. Now, had you written that role specifically with yourself in mind to play that part, or did that maybe come together more organically when discussions around casting began?
I knew pretty early on. I still love acting. I don't do it as much. I would love more opportunities. That's not up to me, but this was up to me, and I felt like I just really connected with that piece of the script and that scene, and I knew that I wanted to play it the entire time, and so yeah, it wasn't really much of a discussion. Although at one point, I think my wife was like, Kevin Bacon would actually be really good, and I was like, "What do you like?" Yes, he's amazing, but like, one, you'd be taking my role, and two, I don't think we can afford him. So
Well, never say never.
yeah,
You can ask, because they'll either say yes or no. So there's
yeah,
no harm in it.
no, I know,
So
but I wanted that one.
and if Kevin Bacon happens to stumble across this interview, Kevin, next movie, please.
I would love to work with him.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? I'm a big fan. We've almost at the end of our time, Peter, which is a shame because I'd love to keep talking to you. And I just wanted to wrap things up a little bit differently, if you'll indulge me, actually with a film recommendation. I recently saw the writer-director Adam Finberg's new movie, Star People. Have you heard of this?
No, no. Let me write that down. Star People. Wait, it sounds
Yeah.
familiar. All right, let me jot it down.
Yeah. Now, the reason that I mention it is that I think it will make a great double bill with Descendants because it uses the true like UFO sighting from 1997, the Phoenix Lights. I don't know if you recall this or not, but it uses that as a backdrop to a story about estranged siblings. And the beautiful thing is that it's about a human journey again, and I think it's something that you'd really dig, given having seen both literally within a couple of weeks of each other. I think there's a lot of similarities, a lot of heart with them that I think you might really find interesting. And should we get to speak again in the future, I'd love to find out what you thought of the movie if you get the opportunity to see it.
Yeah, no, I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely worth your time. Well, that's all from me, Pete. I hope and wish you all the very best with the film upon release.
Thank you.
And I certainly look forward to maybe chatting to you again in the future about another project. And so best of luck, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to protect my family.
From what?
This is new for you?